What would you do if you were forcefully thrown into an apocalyptic war, with slim to none chances of survival? Hey guys, and welcome back to Cinema Wrap Up. Today, I'm going to be explaining an action, sci-fi, movie from 2021 titled, The Tomorrow War. Spoilers ahead. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. 28 years earlier before the war. In December 2022, biology teacher and former Green Beret Dan Forrester returns home to a lit Christmas party him and his wife Emmy have thrown. While watching the International Soccer World Cup with his daughter Murray and his wife Emmy. As all the party guests turns around to watch their team score the goal, the TV suddenly glitches, causing everyone to tense up and slightly panic. On the soccer field, a gigantic time portal called a jump link begins to materialize, in front of millions of spectators. Then out emerges soldiers from the year 2051. Then the head soldier named Lieutenant Hart steps forth before the world, to deliver a chilling message to the people. She tells everyone they are fighting a war 30 years in the future, and the enemy is not of human descent and they are losing. Finally she tells the world they need their help, because in 11 months' time, all human beings in the future will be wiped from the face of the earth. The following day, while Dan gives his students a speech to uplift their spirits, due to the fact they are all afraid of what's coming in the near future, which is also resulting in the kids not wanting to learn anything, he tells the kids the world needs scientists more than anything right now, so they can't stop learning and innovating, because that's how the problem will be solved. Suddenly Dan's phone starts blaring, and he picks up his phone to see he's received a draft notice to fight in the war. Shortly after, Dan arrives at the drafting headquarters, where a large group of people can be seen, protesting against being forcefully enlisted to fight in the future war. In the facility, two soldiers look over Dan's paperwork to confirm he is actually Dan Forrester. Dan is then instructed to remove his shirt, and sit in the chair behind him. Two people then begin to strap him into the chair, as Dan jokingly says, "Is he about to do a driving test?" Dan's arm then gets placed inside a device, that when activated, causes him excruciating pain. Dan's arm is fitted with a temporal armband device, that will help him jump to and from the future war. One of the future soldiers tells Dan, any attempt made to avoid the war, or any tampering with the device, will result in immediate imprisonment. She then gives Dan his documents and tells him, to get his personal affairs in order and report to basic training. Shortly after, Dan returns home to tell his family the news. As they hug and embrace, Emmy notices the armband around Dan's arm. Then he tells his wife he'll see them in 7 days, because he's a pretty tough guy, and his wife jokingly replies, he's the same tough guy who cries through every cold. Dan goes outside to talk with his daughter Murray. He tries to break the news to her softly, by telling her he's going on a trip, which turns her smile to a frown. Then he tells her he'll be gone for a week. However, Murray is well aware of what's going on, because she replies telling him, she knows he has gotten drafted to fight in the war. He then looks in her eyes with the most confident look, and he tells her, he will be back, on some Terminator type of vibes. Back at the basic training facility, Dan gets prepared for target practice by loading his pistol. A woman tells them to only aim for the throat and abdomen of the intended targets. She takes the gun off safety, and she gives them a visual representation of what she expects in the battlefield. Lieutenant Hart then tells them their tour of duty will be 7 days, and at the end of the tour if the jump band determines that they are still alive, they will automatically be jumped back from wherever they are, and the tour of duty will be complete. She then tells the draftees, most of them will deploy with D-Force, and the rest will jump, with our force. Then she tells everyone to check the screen on their jump band to see which group they're jumping with. Dan checks his arm band to see he's jumping with our force. Then a man named Charlie tells Dan they're jumping together. Then a man named Dorian, who's also jumping with our force, tells Charlie to stop talking and listen. Charlie replies telling Dorian when he's nervous he talks a lot, and on a nervous scale from 1 to 10 he's like a 98. Then he tells Dorian he looks like a murderer. At the debriefing by the future soldiers, they are told they will be joining their counterparts in the year 2051, at a fortified research facility. And their function is to add their knowledge and skill set to theirs, and prevent the extinction of the human race. Two soldiers then explains the jump link to the group. The jump link is a temporal displacement device, housed in a fortified location in the middle of the ocean. Lieutenant Hart then tells them, every 6 days the white spikes disappear and crawl back into their nest, which the soldiers call it the Sabbath, which is their day of rest, and that's when they insert troops. Following that, as Charlie and Dan talk, Charlie tells Dan his wife brought him the jellyfish t-shirt he's wearing as a joke, because he got stung so many times at the beach. He tells Dan he hates the beach, but his wife loves it, and they went to the beach in the summertime, but unfortunately she got sent out in the first wave, which resulted in her passing away in battle. Suddenly an alarm starts blaring. And everyone begins to rush to the jump link, to prepare to be sent into the future to fight the white spikes. Everyone soon reaches the JumpLink teleport platform, and they line up in formation, and the tower begins the countdown. The enormous JumpLink is then activated by the control tower. And one by one, everyone begins to get sucked into the JumpLink. Dan is quickly beamed up. The JumpLink deposits them over a skyscraper in Miami Beach, with the city already in flames from the catastrophic battle. Dan and the other lucky soldiers drop into a pool on the roof, while others aren't so lucky as they fall to their death. Dorian and the remaining soldiers who've survived reassemble to carry out their mission. Then a woman named Ryskub looks through her binoculars, and she witnesses soldiers down below get killed by the white spikes. Dan radios the command center, and confirms they are approaching the research facility from the southeast corner. The group is horrified when they find the lab personnel, left for dead, hanging upside down by the white spikes. The commander orders Dan to find the medical freezers and move fast, because if the white spikes left bodies behind, that means they're going to come back. Meanwhile, the commander orders an airstrike to save Dan and the team from a group of white spikes that are approaching the lab facility. Dan and the team enters the lab, and he quickly finds the biological materials the commander ordered him to retrieve. He secures the materials in a box to protect them, and Dan and the team quickly move forward to evacuate the building. As the team presses forward in the staircase, a eerie noise can be heard coming from up above. Dan looks up, and is horrified to see a white spike reveal itself. And the whole team immediately sends a barrage of bullets to all of the white spikes above them. A white spike protects itself with its tough outer body shell, as a team member fires at it from point-blank range. The white spike then quickly attacks the team members, sending them flying down the stairs. Dan opens fire on the white spike and he manages to harm it, and the white spike quickly retreats. Dan and his team members manage to escape the facility, as a large group of white spikes can be seen quickly approaching. At the same time, the airstrike is rapidly advancing, to bomb the entire area around the lab facility, that's covered in red smoke. The team moves forward as they continue to battle the oncoming aggressive white spikes. The creatures manage to kill 2 soldiers amidst the battle. As the airstrike begins, Dan and the team quickly flee while trying to back down the white spikes. While walking over a bridge, one of the team members falls and he breaks his leg. Charlie and Dan try to rescue him. But there is no time to save him because there's a large group of white spikes coming. Ryskub pushes Dan and tells him to go, as she holds off the white spikes with gunfire. The airstrike drops the bombs, and the entire area along with the white spikes that are chasing Dan and the team, are immediately destroyed. Back at the forward operating base in the Dominican Republic, Dan meets with the commander face to face. A soldier runs up addressing the woman as Forrester, and Dan finds this very peculiar, so he asks her does she spell Forrester with 1 R or 2. She tells him with only 1 R. Then she tells him, she's his daughter Murray Forrester. Our force is Murray's creation, and she's also the leading scientist at the operating base. Following that, Murray shows Dan a queen female white spike, who are far more rarer and dangerous than the males. Murray tells Dan they have a toxin that kills the males but not the female queens, and she needs to figure out why. So Murray wants Dan's help in capturing a female white spike, to formulate a toxin fatal enough to kill the queens. Upon the team reaching the female queen's nesting grounds, the soldiers below in the queen's nest tells Murray, they just need help getting the queen inside the cage. As the soldiers play tug of war with the queen to pull her inside the cage, she suddenly emerges and begins to attack them. Murray immediately drops into the queen's nest. She shoots the queen in one of her tentacles, causing her to get very pissed off. Then a soldier named Terry hooks a spear in one of the queen's tentacles. The queen jumps down and charges towards Murray at full speed. And Murray runs towards her with her Teflon vest, and they both collide, sending Murray flying through the air. Dan can be seen dropping down into the nest, and he immediately helps the soldiers pull the queen into the cage. As Dan and the soldiers pull from the opposite side, Murray kicks the queen off of her, and with 2 soldiers pulling from the back, Dan and his daughter push the queen into the cage, and Murray quickly locks the door. And the team successfully captures the female queen. Terry then radios to the chopper that they've caught the queen, and the chopper pulls the cage from out of the nest, and they take the queen away. Dan, Murray and the female white spike are transported to a fortified offshore oil platform where the jump link is located. The queen is injected with 180 milligrams of hydromorphone every hour, to keep her under heavy sedation. Murray collects several blood samples from the queen, to run thousands of tests for the toxin she's created that kills the male white spikes, to find out what's stopping the toxin from killing the queen. Murray runs several tests, and each test she gets closer and closer, to bonding the toxin with the queen's blood. The following day, while the female queen is still under heavy sedation, Dan comes to Murray and asks her how can he help. She tells Dan if the toxin works, she needs him to take it back because they're working on borrowed time, and the toxin can't be mass-produced in this time period. She tells Dan to take it into the past, Because he'll have the resources and the ability to mass produce it there, and then he can stop the war from ever happening. Suddenly Murray and Dan looks to the computer screen to see, the toxin has 100% bonded to the female queen's DNA. Suddenly, the female queen awakens from her sleep. And on the outside, thousands of white spikes can be seen swarming the base to rescue the queen. Murray and Dan then quickly flee, as they race to the jump link to send Dan back into the past. The female queen then emerges from the facility after being freed by the males. Just then, as Dan and Murray reach the jump link, a massive cruise ship crashes into the base, causing the entire facility to explode. Murray suddenly collapses to the ground, because she is badly injured. She gives Dan the toxin, and tells him he has to make sure this never happens. The female queen suddenly appears, and she grabs Murray off of the walkway platform. Dan manages to catch her before she falls. However, Murray lets go and sacrifices herself to return Dan to the past. Dan leaps to save his daughter, but it's too late because the jump link activates and it sends him back to the past. Following that, Dan tells Emmy that he met Murray in the future, and she's a scientist who created a toxin to kill the white spikes. The white spikes supposedly arrived on the Earth in northern Russia in 2048. And there were no ships or any satellite images of how they arrived on Earth. Emily tells Dan just because they attacked in 2048 that doesn't mean that's when they arrived. She then deduces they may have arrived much earlier in 2046 or 2047. After finding volcanic ash on the alien white spike, Charlie tells Dan and Dorian that the ash isn't from Russia either, it's actually from China. Dan then asks Charlie, how does Chinese volcanic ash end up on an island in northern Russia? And Charlie replies, does he know any volcano experts? Dan and Charlie go to speak with Dan's student Martin. And he immediately asks if he's in trouble. Dan tells Martin every human on Earth can be saved, if he can answer one question that's all about his favorite topic, which happens to be volcanoes. Charlie then butts in and says, he would have killed for a moment like this in high school. Martin deduces that the white spikes have likely been on Earth, at least since the Millennium eruption in 946 AD. And that global warming melting the polar ice caps, allow them to emerge from beneath. Shortly after, Dan enlists the help of his father James, to fly them into Russia undetected, in order to find the white spikes alien spaceship. And James replies, he'll get his coat. With the help of James the team successfully enters Russia. Dan uses a magnetic compass, that quickly helps them find the white spikes alien spaceship. Then they plant bombs and detonate them to enter the area. And inside, the team is amazed to find the alien spaceship. They cut the door open with a hacksaw, and they enter inside. The team finds the cockpit, and also alien beings killed in the crash, who brought the white spikes as bioweapons, to wipe out life on planets. The team then enters a chamber and finds several dormant white spikes, said to be cargo for the dead aliens. They inject the sleeping white spikes with the deadly toxins. The toxin destroys them, but unfortunately it awakes the rest of the colony. The queen white spike hatches, and she kills most of the team members before escaping. Dan, Charlie and James all quickly escape the spaceship. All while an enormous colony of white spikes begins to hatch. Dorian, who's terminally ill with cancer, stays behind and blows the ship and white spike colony to smithereens. And with the queen loose, Dan and James begin to hunt her down to kill her. As she charges towards what she thinks is Dan, she comes up short and falls into their trap. She's quickly shot down, and Dan and James hits her with an onslaught of bullets, forcing her to retreat. She suddenly reappears and attacks Dan with a spike from her tentacle. She charges towards Dan, but he somehow stabs her in the face, and he takes out one of her eyes. James quickly comes and stabs her in the other eye, and this results in leaving her completely blind. Dan then shoves the lethal toxin down the queen's throat, and as she deteriorates, he kicks her off the cliff, and she falls and splatters on a rock down below. Dan plops down beside his father, and James asks him, did he actually tell the queen white spike to die? And Dan replies telling him, he did. James tells him it actually worked, and why didn't he tell her sooner? Charlie also falls out near them, and he tells James and Dan, let's just take a little break. Finally, Dan returns home, as his wife and daughter race to hug him. He brings James home to meet Murray for the first time ever, as they hug and embrace, and this lit movie ends here.